Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Sarah. Today I have the first of my 2024 planners slash journals that I will be using. This will be my reading journal. This one is a planner and not a blank notebook. This is the Sterling Ink A5 size compact full year commonplace planner. It's in this beautiful caramel color. Sounds a little strange to say, but brown is my favorite, if not one of my favorite colors. So of course I had to choose this color because it's just stunning. I love it. So grab a beverage, adult or otherwise. It's Friday night when I'm recording this, so I certainly have an adult beverage to enjoy. Get cozy, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, and we'll kind of dive right into this. So this will be set up, or is set up, partially as a journal and mostly as a journal and partially as a planner. I'm not super planning my reading life because I'm one of those readers who kind of decides what I want to read next based on what I want to read next. So I'm not someone who will say, January I'm reading these 3 books, February I'm reading these 3 books, so on and so forth. Also, as a caveat for my reading goals, I only read physical books. I don't read ebooks or audiobooks, and it's nothing like, it's not a knock to anyone else, and I'm not judging anyone else. It's just what I personally enjoy. I find that if I'm listening to stories or reading them on a screen, I don't retain it. My brain tends to wander. I'm just not as engaged with the story as I am when I read a physical book. Also, I'm not very tech savvy, so I know these things aren't hard to figure out. It's 2023, so here we are in the age of the internet, but I'm not super tech savvy. I don't have a Kindle or anything. I just prefer regular books. So without further ado, these are some of the supplies that I've used. I have 3 different colors of the Tombow ink markers, and then a few of these Rhytec gel pens, and then a few washi tapes. Look at this one. Gold foiling on it. It's so pretty. I got these washi tapes off of Stationery Pal, my first ever order from Stationery Pal, and I mean, it's not great quality, and I can kind of tell that. I've purchased a whole bunch of products, not just washi tapes. But out of the products that I've purchased, I can tell they're not the highest quality, which I wasn't expecting that when I purchased these things for a very deep discount. So I wasn't super concerned with that. But overall, I'm very happy with my purchases so far. Opening right up, I left this blank because I just don't think I'm gonna do anything with it. I really don't. And that's fine. I'm not gonna concern myself with it. I'm not gonna stress about it or worry about it. Lots of books, notebooks, whatnot are blank when you first open them up, and that's fine with me. And then there was, as you can see, the ghosting here. There was like a flyleaf page between these 2, and I saw My Dandelion Diaries. I saw her kind of notice the same issue that I did, where the thicker cardstock page and the first flyleaf page, they were glued together until about here-ish. And you didn't want to kind of, I'll use this as an example. You didn't want to kind of try and peel this apart and separate the pages, because it's not going to end well for either page involved. So I did what she did, and I took some glue tape and just glued the flyleaf page to the thicker cardstock. I can see the ghosting of the 2024 Commonplace Planner. I can see the ghosting of the actual tape marks, but I don't care. Doesn't bother me. And then these stickers I thought were perfect for my reading journal. They came as a freebie in my one of my Sterling Ink orders. And I thought they were very cute. Obviously, you know, I've just got two sparse little stickers over here, so it's not the most like aesthetically arranged, but again, I'm not fussy about those sorts of things. And I don't have a ton of journaling planner supplies. You see people on YouTube and whatnot where they just have boxes and boxes of stickers and washies and, you know, all of the ephemera. I don't have that, so I do have extras of some of my stickers, but I tend to use what I buy and I try not to purchase extras of things. So not all of my planners and journals are very elaborately decorated because that's just not me. A title page, I honestly might not do anything with this because, again, I'm not the most like crafty, creative person when it comes to those sorts of things, so I might just leave this blank. Again, doesn't bother me. I can always choose to do something with it later if I want, but for now I'm just gonna leave it. And then here I have a 2020 book bingo. 2020, oh my god, 2024. What is time anymore? Someone tell me, please. 2024 book bingo, and I took these bingo spaces off of the 2024, I believe it's the Book Riot reading challenge. So I'm not going to hold myself super accountable to these things, but if I'm kind of in the mood to try something new or I don't know what to read next, this is a really good jumping off point. And who knows, maybe I'll get a bingo in here somewhere anyway. And then on this side, I have my reading goals. It's my goal to read 24 books this year. I would like to contribute to reviews on Goodreads and write 3 reviews because I often read reviews. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I read the hate reviews just to see what people are saying, especially if it's a book that I did not finish and I tend to finish more books. I don't DNF very many books, so if I DNF a book, like, it's either offensive in some way and the author is just completely unaware, or it's just, in my opinion, again, these are all personal opinions, it's just really bad. I mean, offensive is not a personal, sort of, but not really. Offensive is offensive, but, you know, a bad book is subjective. Okay, and reeling it back in. Anyways, so I would like to contribute to positive reviews or at least constructive criticisms. I'm not going to go hate reviewing because I'm busy, y'all. I don't have time for that. Next, I would like to read 5 different fiction genres. And it may be as broad as horror, mystery, sci-fi, romance, or it could be a little more niche where it's like a one setting mystery or a cozy mystery or a historical mystery. So again, it's just going to be what I'm feeling at the time. I would also like to read 3 nonfiction books. I feel in the last like year or two, I've really been reading a lot of fiction because, let's face it, the world sucks quite often, and I like to read as a form of escapism. So I'm going to challenge myself to read some nonfiction this next year. My next goal is to read 1 book off of my bookshelf here at home. I have so many books on my bookshelf that I have not read, and I'm sure many of you are in the same situation where you acquired the book for a reason, because you like it, you're interested in it, you want to read it, and then it just sits on your shelf and you don't read it. And every time you look at it, you're like, no, I don't want to read that right now. So I'm just going to challenge myself to read just one of those books off my shelf. And it can't be a reread. It can't be something I've already read. It's got to be something new. Next, I would like to read a genre I normally wouldn't read, fiction or nonfiction. I'm not really, unpopular opinion. I know so many folks are on BookTube or Book Talk or whatnot because they read spicy romance or they read fantasy or sci-fi. Like, those are all very popular genres that are all having a moment right now. I'm not really into any of those. So I think I want to challenge myself to read like a fantasy or romance book this year and try something new. So if anyone has any good recommendations for fantasy, romance, not too spicy. I'm not interested in reading like super duper spicy, but like, I am an adult. I know how these things work. I'm not going to be like offended or disgusted by some spice. I'm just not, I would like more story with some spice rather than spice with a story, if that makes sense. So send me some reading recommendations. I would love to know what y'all have on your bookshelves this year, what you're reading, particularly, like I said, if you read romance or fantasy. Send me a recommendation for something you think would be kind of good for a beginner, palatable, diplomatic, all of those things. And bleeding right into that, I want to read a fantasy book. I've read a few books that have like fantastical elements to them, and I think technically they would be fantasy, but they don't feel like fantasy. I'm not reading about, orcs and saving the kingdom and, one ring to rule them all. I'm not that kind of fantasy, high fantasy person. I don't mind a little bit of fantastical elements, but I want to push myself to read more of like a classic fantasy book. Next goal is to start a series. I would love to finish a series, but I'm going to challenge myself to start one this year. And I actually already have a book. I've put a book on hold at the library. I haven't been obsessively checking it or anything on my library app, but I've maybe been obsessively checking my library app to see if it's ready yet. And it is not ready. It's in transit. It's been in transit for like I put it on hold on Christmas Day, and it's been in transit now for like almost 4 days, and I am just dying to read this book and start it. So I'll probably check my library app again after I finish recording this, because who knows, maybe it's magically ready. Not that I could go get it at 8:30 at night anyway, but here we are. I will be starting the, what is the name of, I don't remember the name of the series. The first book, which may also be the name of the series, is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry, I believe. It's a Western series. I've never read a Western, so immediately off the bat, we're knocking off 3 things off my list here: starting a series, reading a genre I normally wouldn't, and reading one of my 5 fiction genres. So we're just coming in hot right off the bat. And then another goal is to read 3 books in a month. And could be any 3 books, could be any month, but just to kind of gain and build momentum. Okay, so yeah, these washi tapes aren't the greatest. They're kind of peeling up here on the corners, but that's okay. If they peel up, they peel up, and I can replace it with other washi. So next, I have the goals breakdown, and again, because I don't want to kind of pigeonhole myself into reading specific books during certain months or things like that. I've kind of made my goals generic. So I've got my overall Q1 priorities here, and then I break, these are just repeated. So my Q1 goals are to start a series, write 1 review, read 1 nonfiction book, and read 6 books total. So then I just kind of repeated these things down here. So in January, I want to start a series, read 2 books. February, I want to also read 2 books and write 1 book review. And then March, again, read 2 books to get my total of 6 and read 1 nonfiction book. So we're kind of ticking all these boxes and then breaking it down into monthly goals. And then here I will record my actual things that I do or do not accomplish over the first quarter. And on this page, I've highlighted the months and the day columns. They're not generally like this, but just so it stands out a little more to me. I've also highlighted the priorities here and then my actuals. So on this page, what I want to do is just here in this daily space, I want to write how many pages I read that day. And then down here, or maybe here, haven't figured it totally out yet, to be honest, but I want to write definitely here, write the books that I read that month, and if I, started a series, or if I wrote a review. Down here, I might also write the books that I've read. I also might just write my favorite book that I read each month. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. We'll do a flip through as we're going through the year and you'll see. Have not filled out any of these because I don't know now what I want to read in April, and I'm not going to worry about it. So here we go all the way through Q4. I'm not filling anything out in December because I'm not using it this year. I am waiting till January 1st. And also I'm not reading anything this month. I'm working, less hard in December now that NaNoWriMo is over. I'm working less hard in December than I was in November, but I am still working hard on finishing the first draft of a book that I am writing. So I am not reading anything because I need to be writing. And then we flip to January. So on the monthly calendar, I have some basic stats down here. I made the mistake of writing with the gel pen and then going over it. So smudges galore. That's okay. Doesn't bother me. I have the number of books read, pages read, number of library visits, genres, moods, my favorite book read, and then the years that the books were published, which I've been consuming so many reading journal YouTube videos that I do not remember who I saw that was doing this, but someone was recording and keeping track of what years all of the books they were reading were published, so they could kind of see how wide of a range they were reading, which I thought was a really interesting thing to keep track of, because lots of people focus on these other things like number of books read, pages read, your favorite book, but I haven't seen many folks focusing on the years published. And then genres and moods, I will be using, I use the Storygraph app for reading. So the Storygraph will break things down by genres and moods, and that can be a subjective thing as well, but I'm just going to go with what the Storygraph says. And if I feel that anything is drastically different than what the Storygraph comes up with for genres and moods, then, I can make those changes in here as I see fit. So on the calendar view, I want to write the title, and then I will make a highlighting mark for how long it takes me to read that book. So hopefully I will be able to go to the library tomorrow or New Year's Eve or New Year's Day even, but I don't even know if I don't think the library is going to be open New Year's Day, or maybe not even. I'll have to check. Anyway, I'm hoping to get this book before January 1st. So ideally on January 1st, I will write Lonesome Dove here. And then if I finish it in 4 days, I'll just take my little Tombow and highlight 4 days. And then on the 5th, when I start reading my next book, I'll write that title. I don't think I'm going to read it in 4 days, but whatever. And that way I will have a visual marker of how long each book is taking me to read, where, if I blast through something in 2 days, I really loved that book. Or if, I'm reading the same book for a month and a half, which has happened before, then I can say, oh, well, I was either really busy in my life, distracted, didn't have the spoons to be reading at that moment, or I didn't like the book, and it took me forever to trudge through. I also plan on using these little stickers to track my library visits. So I ordered some stickers from Orange Umbrella Co. They are my favorite sticker shop. Melanie is the owner, and she is just the sweetest, kindest person. I've I've emailed or messaged on Instagram so many times asking questions about specific products or questions about creating a custom sticker, and she's fantastic. She's so quick to respond. She's very kind. She's very nice. I've asked some very basic questions because I've never used stickers or kits or anything until this year, and she never once made me feel dumb or like I was less than for not knowing how kits worked or things like that. So I highly recommend their stickers. And I think all of them, with the exception of maybe some of the journaling deco stickers, they're all repositionable. So if you don't like where something is, you can just pick it up and move it. It's great. So anyway, I ordered some. That's where all of these book stickers you'll see throughout my planner, that's where all of these are from, is Orange Umbrella Co. So these little books stacks will mark days where I go to the library, and then these will mark when I have library books due. And then the last thing I ordered, which I'll show you now, is the star ratings. And I got the kind of brown or natural, I can't remember what it's technically called, but I got the brown or natural colorway on their shop. They have black, I think they have a gray muted rainbow, and then a bright rainbow. So whatever your color palette choices are and preferences, they've got something for you. So I like the star ratings because they're an ombre gradient. Not that you'll see that on the individual pages, but I think they're really cute. And then you can kind of color them in to denote how many stars you're giving a book. Monthlies, yada, yada, yada. We get to the weeklies. And this is going to be much of the same thing as the monthly view. So I'm going to have the current book with highlighting throughout the week. Excuse me. It's only 8:38 and I'm getting really sleepy. I will also probably include the pages I read that day. And then I'll also include my library visits and books due. And then I'm also going to record some thoughts. And maybe it's thoughts on the book where I'm talking about specific characters or plot lines, but it also might just be more about my experience with the book, or my moods. It might be oh my God, I love this book so much that I don't want to finish it, but I'm gonna finish it today. Or it might be oh, I had a really stressful week and I was having a hard time sitting down to focus and get engaged in my book, but I'm really proud I made it through 10 pages today. So it might be more kind of thoughts like that about my life and my interaction with the book, and less about characters or plots. And then at the end of the weekly calendar, I have my table of contents, which, y'all, I've already... Word of advice: don't write your table of contents until you have all of these pages done and know what page they're actually going to be on. Stupid mistake. But it's okay. I'll fix it. I'll rewrite it. It's all good. I'm not too worried about it. But, you know, I just got eager. So I have my table of contents. I've saved another page for the table of contents. Not that I'm going to have a million sections of this journal, but it might be like, you know, page 27, Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry. And then I might start doing it book by book so that I can easily see where each book entry is in my journal here. So 4 pages for that. Next, I am so proud of this page. This is about as artsy as I get. And let me tell y'all, I freaking love this. I'm just gonna pat myself on the back. I think I'm so good. So these are my annual stats. So I'll fill in this little bubble here. I'll fill in the total number of books I read. And then how many books. For a second, I thought I did I made a huge mistake, but no, we're all good. By month, I want to fill in how many books I read that month and do like a little graph. Again, most of these two are going to be stats, data generated from not Goodreads, the story graph. So the pacing of a book, whether it's slow, medium, fast, the number of books I read with that pacing, and then the percentage. That way I can see at the end of the year, like, oh wow, only 5% of the books I read were fast paced. Only 5% of the books I read were slow paced, but 90% of them were medium paced. Like, interesting. Same thing here. I want to see how many books I read under 300 pages, 300 to 500, or more than 500 pages. And again, it'll be number of books read and then the percent, and I'll just kind of fill those in as I go. And then I want to see my most read author, see who I'm like really loving and binging this next year. Again, moods and genres from the story graph. And I think I'll probably do like, you know, fantasy, mystery, psychological thriller, dark, mysterious, humorous. I think I'll do the individual moods and genres, and then just put the number of books that I read. And obviously, books may fall into more than one mood and genre. So, you know, this will not add up necessarily to the total number of books that I've read that year, but I'm curious to see what my moods will be this next year. And then in this spot, I'm just going to write how many fiction books I read versus how many nonfiction books I read, just to get a straight number where it's like, oh, you read 18 fiction and only 3 nonfiction. And then the last thing I have here is the total number of pages read. I'll just go ahead and put that grand total down here. And then again, I would like to track it by month with a little graph. I don't think there will be a month where I read more than 1,600 pages. That's kind of reaching for the stars. Same thing here. I don't think there's going to be a month where I read more than 8 books. It's almost physically impossible. I don't have the time or the energy, to be honest. I'm going to take a sip of my beer here. No one ever tells you how dry your throat gets just talking in YouTube videos. Have to refresh my parched throat. Okay, so this, I would like to do my 2024 bookshelf. If you've seen other reading journals online, folks will print out their little covers of the books and then do the star rating. So that's what I would like to do, is print out little covers, print out little images of the covers of the books, and then use my cute little stars here to put underneath of it and fill in my star rating. That will continue on this page. Next, also very cute. Ooh, ah. So I've seen several folks do Battle of the Book setups where I will write down my favorite book every month, and then from January through March, I will pick my favorite. Same thing for the second quarter, third, and fourth. And then from those 4 books, I will choose my favorite 2. And then out of those 2, there will be 1 book to rule them all. So I will probably print and cut out the image here of what I decide my favorite book of 2024 is. Next, I have my DNF list. This sticker, so cute. It was a freebie from Orange Umbrella Co. I pulled it out of the package, and my husband immediately said that he wanted one. So I gave him one, and he was like, well, I don't know where to put it yet. So here it is. So I'm only giving myself 1 page for this because, like I said, I'm not going to read that many books this year, and I'm not going to DNF that many books this year. I think in 2023 I DNF'd like 2 books, so this will be plenty of space. If I fill out this whole DNF list, either I'm like just not into reading and I DNF everything, or I've read like 500 books. So this is my TBR. Yes, the whole damn thing. So the little stars denote that it's part of a series. This is where I said get comfortable, because I'm going to read every single one. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I could never. This spread was fun. I liked going through my TBR list. Would I do this again? I don't know, because it's a lot. Although, like, listen to that crinkle, and I wish y'all could feel this. Like, I love the feel of paper after it's been written on. Like, you can feel the individual raised bumps of, like, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't, clearly, but you know. You can feel the raised bumps from where you write. But it just goes on and on and on, and pet hair. And finally we get to the end. Yes. The first book in the series is Lonesome Dove, that I will be starting in January. Next is Streets of Laredo. Then we have Dead Man's Walk, and the last book is Comanche Moon. Larry McMurtry is the author, and I think he started writing these, if I remember right. Lonesome Dove was published in 1984, 86, somewhere in the mid-80s, so this might be something I DNF because things don't always age super well, and with an indigenous nation being in the title of one of them, I'm curious but cautious. So without getting into more than that, we will see. This might be the first book I pick up, and it also might be a DNF, but we'll find out. Next I have, and then I left myself a bunch more space, and I hope this is enough space, but if not, I can just, you know, open into the next blank page and continue it. I will be putting some favorite quotes from books that I read this year in here. I think this will be enough space. I'm not someone who like is obsessed with quotes. I know a lot of folks really enjoy them and enjoy keeping track of them, and that's just not me. So I think this will be enough space, but it is something I want to be more kind of intentional and aware of, as kind of keeping some of those better lines from books that I see and making it a habit to kind of tuck them away for somewhere else for my journal. Next, I have my book recommendations, title and author, and then who it's recommended by here. This might be a little redundant. I know several of the books on my TBR list have been recommended to me by different people in my life, but I think I'm gonna put them here and on my TBR. Again, it's a little redundant, but we'll figure it out as we go. And then lastly, because I mentioned I wanted to print those little book covers, I'm not a tech savvy person, so I wrote down instructions from somewhere I found online of how to format and print these book covers so they fit nicely in your reading journal. And then the next page, I'm just going to start with notes on the books that I'm reading. And this will be, depending on how much I have to say about the book, 1 to, infinity number of pages for each book, probably just 1 or 2 book pages. It'll have the title, author, genre, pages, publisher, year it was published, star rating, and then my thoughts. And again, they can be sort of going back to these thoughts where it's like more my personal interactions with the book, where it's like, oh man, I just couldn't get into it, but I'm proud of myself for finishing it, or oh, I just can't get enough of this style of writing. The author really makes me feel like I'm there. I can picture it. Or it might be more character and plot specific things where it's like, oh my god, can you believe this guy did X, Y, and Z? Like, what a dumbass. Or I can't believe she reacted to this situation this way. Like, she handled it so well, so gracefully. I don't think I could have done the same thing if I were in her shoes. So yeah, I will just give myself free rein to write whatever the hell I want about these books. And that's it. That is the end of my set up pages. Not super chunky, a little chunky, but only because there's washi tapes in a few spots. But I am very excited to get into this. I've never kept a reading journal. I have been reading since before I could read. My mom would read to me every day. Since I was a baby, my mom would read to me every day before bed, and sometimes during the day as well as before bed. And then when I learned to read, she would still read to me every night before bed, but I was also reading my own books. And so I feel very fortunate to have grown up a reader. We went to the library regularly when I was a kid growing up. I still go to the library regularly. And I've never tried keeping a reading journal. So I am really excited to finally take a stab at it and see how I like it. If you are keeping a reading journal this year, or this coming year, we're only like a day and 2 days away from the new year now. But if you're keeping a reading journal this year, let me know. Let me know if you've set it up, if you've had any spreads or pages that you've included that I missed. Let me know, because I'd be down to add a couple more spreads. If you found any inspiration in this, let me know what tickled your fancy. And let me know what your first book that you're going to read in 2024 is. I hope you have a wonderful and safe new year, and I will talk to you soon, and I'll be back with more flip throughs of my 2024 planner setups. Take care. Bye.